A nefarious nightmare contains themes that may be explicit or triggering for some. Specific warnings and disclaimers will be mentioned in the show notes. A nefarious nightmare assumes all parties that are mentioned in these cases to be innocent unless proven guilty in a court of law. Listener discretion is strongly advised. Welcome to Season 4.
On the evening of February 16th, 2022, Jared Bridegan was traveling back to his home in St. Augustine from Jacksonville Beach, where he just dropped off his 10-year-old twin son and daughter. He had his 2-year-old daughter in the car with him when he stopped near the exit of the Sanctuary neighborhood to move a tire off of the road.
Unfortunately, he was ambushed and shot multiple times. Thankfully, his daughter was unharmed physically, as the vehicle's hazard lights were still blinking when police arrived on the scene. What happened to Jared Bridegan? Why was he ambushed and shot? Today, we will explore this and attempt to get answers. With that, I'm Amanda Cronin.
And I'm Courtney Fenner, and A Nefarious Nightmare presents Ambush at the Sanctuary. What happened to Jared Bridegan?
As we have said before, we have taken many case suggestions for this season. This one is no different. We want to thank Keb Pound, also known as the Keb, from the REFILTERED podcast, formerly Unfiltered, for this week's suggestion as well as next week's. Chances are, if you hear cases out of Florida or surrounding areas, it comes at his suggestion because we lovingly call the Keb our favorite Florida man. He is, after all, a Florida native. I can't say that we can root for the Braves or anything like that. Courtney and I don't do sports ball, after all. I can say, though, that the Keb, despite his rough exterior, is one of the kindest and most brotherly people we have all encountered. He has been a massive force in this case suggestions behind the scenes here, so once again, thank you, Keb, for your suggestions, and we hope we do these cases justice. Now let's dive in.
On February 16th, 2022, Bridegan took his twin children and their 2-year-old half-sister out to dinner. It was a sunny day and in the mid-70s most of the day, so overall it was a great day that Jared went and spent with his 3 oldest kids. Now afterward, at around 7 p.m., he dropped the older children off to his ex-wife Shanna Gardner Fernandez's home. Unfortunately, a tragedy soon occurred on a dark stretch of Sanctuary Boulevard in Jacksonville Beach, Florida. According to the police, it is believed that Bridegan encountered a tire blocking the road and stopped to move it. Jacksonville Police Chief Gene Paul Smith stated that Bridegan opened the door to his Volkswagen Atlas, presumably to move the object. Quote, "It was then that he was gunned down in cold blood," end quote.
Jared was a successful 33-year-old Microsoft executive and a devoted father of 4. His 2 eldest children lived with his ex-wife, Shanna Gardner Fernandez, in Jackson Beach, Florida. And his 2 youngest kids lived with him and his current wife, Kirsten Bridegan, in St. Augustine. He had a really rocky relationship with his ex-wife, and they had gone through a very dramatic and probably traumatic divorce and custody battle. His life was filled with ambition and responsibility, and he was determined to provide for his children the best life possible.
After dropping off his 9-year-old twins at his ex-wife's house, he called his wife to talk about this date night with his older children. His wife mentioned that their 2-year-old daughter had excitedly told her about getting ice cream earlier. When he didn't return home by 8:30 p.m., his wife became worried and went searching for him, eventually being directed to the Jacksonville Police Department. They confirmed that their daughter was safe, but provided no further information. But Kristen just had this gut feeling and just knew something really bad happened.
Upon arriving at the police department, Kirsten spotted Bexley coloring and immediately rushed to pick her up. Only moments later, an officer approached and delivered the devastating news that Jared had been murdered, confirming that it was not an accident. Kirsten later spoke to a reporter about her state of mind after receiving the news, revealing that she was feeling both nauseous and bewildered all at the same time. The news came unexpectedly and caught her off guard. She was not prepared for the suddenness of it all. It was not the type of news she had ever anticipated receiving when she had just gotten off the phone with them.
Bexley was physically unharmed during the shooting and witnessed the entire event while in her car seat. Kirsten later spoke to a reporter about Bexley saying, quote, "She heard the noises of the shots that killed her dad, and she was alone wondering what happened to him, and he's not answering her for minutes, and minutes are an eternity for a child," end quote. She was left alone for nearly 5 minutes after the shooting until a passerby discovered Jared's body in the road. Nothing was stolen during the incident. The police suggested that the tire found in the scene may have been placed there intentionally, but it was unclear if it was meant for Jared or for someone else. The location of the tire seemed suspicious and raised questions about whether the attack was random or targeted. From what we can find in court documents and statements is that there was more evidence at the scene, but since this is still an ongoing case, those details are not yet released to the public as of yet.
Jared's untimely death shocked everybody in the community as he had no known enemies and was genuinely well liked. However, many people did speculate that his ex-wife Shanna could be involved since their divorce was very messy and they were still in a custody battle at the time of his passing. Jared's family and widow, Kirsten Bridegan, persisted in seeking answers and tips while they waited for updates on his case. They were determined to keep his story alive and not let it be forgotten.
Jared and Shanna met in 2009 while she was visiting a friend in Florida. They got married the following year in Salt Lake City and moved to Connecticut after the birth of their twins. However, after 6 years of marriage, Shanna filed for divorce in February of 2016, citing irreparable differences. Jared had suspected Shanna of cheating on him, and Jared had even messaged a friend on Facebook saying that she had become distant and emotionally attached to her personal trainer, leading to their divorce. Shanna denied the affair, but the personal trainer, who remained nameless, did confirm it, stating that Shanna had told him she and Jared had separated. Jared had gifted Shanna personal training sessions for Christmas in 2014.
Jared wanted to move on to a new relationship, but Shanna got jealous and asked around in the tattoo parlor she worked in for someone to, quote-unquote, shut Jared up. Shanna admitted to saying this, but claimed that she was just bitter about the divorce. In 2015, Jared accused Shanna of spying on him and hiding baby monitors in his children's bedrooms and placing a tracker on his car. Jared sent an email to his lawyer stating his frustration and desire to take action against Shanna, stating, quote, "I should have every damn right on my own property to not constantly be under recording or monitoring by Shanna. I want the flipping gates of hell released on her for this," end quote. And in 2018, Shanna and Mario Fernandez met at the CrossFit gym where he was an employee as a handyman. They began dating and eventually got married.
After the finalization of their divorce agreement, their case file contained 819 pages. Despite this initial upset, he confided in a friend that divorce is the most emotionally and physically challenging thing he has ever experienced. He advised against it, stating that hearing your partner say, "I'm out," and leaving is a difficult pill to swallow. Following his divorce, Jared turned to online dating in hopes of finding a new partner. According to his former boss, Nate Sanders, Jared tried his luck on popular dating apps like Bumble and Tinder, but had trouble forming meaningful connections with anyone.
Jared and Kirsten's love story began in early 2017 when they met each other. Despite the distance between them, Jared was smitten and drove over 6 hours from Florida to North Carolina to take her out on a date. It wasn't long before Kirsten joined Jared in Florida by switching to remote work at Microsoft. The couple tied the knot in October of the same year, and Jared's parenting skills were a hit with Kirsten, and the couple started trying for kids after a year of marriage. Their first daughter, Bexley, was born in August of 2019, followed by their second daughter, London, in August of 2021.
Jared began his role as a user experience design lead at Microsoft in September of 2021. He and Shanna shared joint custody of their twins, alternating weeks. While this arrangement appeared to be functioning well, his family and friends knew there was still tension there and had suspicions, but they never said anything to the public after Jared's death since they didn't want to interfere with the investigation. According to Jared's brother, Adam, Jared expressed fear that the divorce and custody agreement would lead to violence, indicating that he anticipated a situation like the one that sadly ended up occurring.
Kirsten was determined to find out who murdered Jared, but she refused to point fingers at anyone publicly. She knew that the only way to get to the bottom of this was to rely on the police to do their job and investigate the case. She put all of her trust in them to uncover the truth and bring justice for Jared.
Shanna was excluded from Jared's funeral, and sadly, his twins were not present either. Kristen expressed her disappointment that the twins were not present, stating that she missed them and her daughters missed their siblings as well. Kristen said that, quote, "We didn't just lose Jared, we lost our whole family structure. On top of losing Jared, my children have lost their siblings. I've lost my stepkids. I've tried months and months to make contact and haven't gotten anywhere." End quote.
Following Jared's murder, all communication between Shanna and Kirsten ceased. However, 12 days after the incident, Shanna sent an email to Kirsten requesting the return of some library books. Shortly after, she sent another email specifically asking for Jared's death certificate. No further communication occurred between the two.
On June 14th, 2022, it was announced that Shanna had hired a criminal defense lawyer named Henry Coates III. In a statement to Fox Digital, Coates revealed that he was hired by Shanna and her second husband, Mario, to protect their young twins from any publicity surrounding a tragic event. Coates also stated at the time that there was no other reason for the family to have or need counsel, whether it be himself or for anyone else. This, which we later come to find out, is false.
Shanna moved her two children out of their private school in Jacksonville Beach and into a 6-bedroom, 4-bathroom house in southeastern Washington, less than a year after their father's death. Her parents, Shelley and Sterling Gardner, purchased the modern ranch home for about $1 million through an LLC in September. Shelley Gardner is the founder of Stampin' Up!, a papercraft company with an estimated annual revenue of over $100 million. Her parents are prominent fixtures in the Mormon community, but Shanna had reportedly given up on religion after her divorce from Jared. Coincidentally, after the murder, Mario Fernandez was no longer seen by neighbors at the Jacksonville Beach home that he co-owns with Shanna, and he did not accompany her to Washington for the move either.
The police had a suspicious vehicle in the area, specifically a dark blue 2004 to 2008 F-150. Kirsten believed it was targeted. Interestingly, there were no houses, Ring doorbells, or cameras in that particular spot. It was the only location where Jared's drive was not captured on the camera or visible to anyone. The police were provided with a time frame for the gunshots by a resident in the neighborhood. The resident's camera had captured the sound of the shots. Kirsten believed that Jared was deliberately targeted since someone had to have known that he was the type of person to get out of his car to remove something from the street so no one else would get hurt. Jared was shot multiple times from a close range of 3 to 4 feet, indicating that it was not an accident.
The Jacksonville Police Department Sergeant Tanya Tater confirmed very soon that after the tire in the road was under investigation. The police immediately suspected that the incident was not a random occurrence, but rather a premeditated attack. Sergeant Tater stated that the recent murder in Jacksonville was highly unusual as the community has a reputation for being safe. Jared's brother Adam also just knew something in his gut that this was a targeted attack, and it was not random.
On January 25th, 2023, Henry Arthur Tenen, age 61, was arrested by the police. He has been charged with second-degree murder, conspiracy to commit murder, accessory after the fact, and child abuse. The child abuse charge is because Bexley watched her dad be murdered and could have very well have been another victim if the bullets were in a slightly different direction. So terrifying. Tenen was charged with Jared's murder while already in custody for possession of a weapon, by a felon and driving with a suspended or revoked driver's license, stemming from an arrest in August of 2021. During the arrest, a shotgun was found. His criminal record dates back to 1998 and includes numerous traffic violations such as suspended license, careless driving, DUIs, and leaving the scene of an accident with property damage. Additionally, he had been arrested multiple times for domestic violence, battery, criminal mischief, and writing hot checks. According to Tennant's co-workers, he drove a dark blue, you guessed it, F-150.
Henry Tennant was born in Hawkinsville, Georgia in 1961. He attended Vienna High School and studied at Middle Georgia Technical College, according to one of his Facebook accounts. It is unclear when he relocated to Jacksonville, but court records in Duval County show his presence in the area dating as far back as 1991.
So once again, in January of 2023, the daughter of Henry Tennant contacted First Coast News on Facebook, claiming that she thinks her father is being set up. She expressed shock and disbelief, stating that she never thought her father would do something like this. The daughter, who did wish to remain anonymous, apologized to the victim and his family, stating that they will be in her prayers. She concluded by saying that this is all she has to say on the matter.
It was soon discovered that Tennant's past includes living in a home previously owned by Shanna's current husband, Mario Fernandez, and working for him as a handyman. The home in question was sold by Mario, which, coincidentally, was located just 25 miles from the site of the murder. Upon receiving the news, Kirsten's emotions were a mixture of sadness and acceptance. The information conveyed was not entirely surprising to her, yet it still brought a sense of heaviness to her heart.
Now, it is still unclear how the police initially linked Tennant to Jared's murder. There has been no information released as to how the police discovered the connection between Tennant and the crime. It is possible that the police had evidence that pointed to Tennant as a suspect, or perhaps they had information that suggested Tennant was involved in some way. The affidavit that we've read through has most of the information blocked out, and a lot of the information is still sealed since this is still an open and ongoing case. But regardless, the exact details of how the police initially connected Tennant to Jared's murder do remain unknown. There was a $55,000 reward in the case, so maybe that helped, but we do not know for a complete fact.
State Attorney Melissa Nelson stated to Jacksonville.com that Henry Tennant did not act alone in the death of Jared. The conspiracy charge against Tennant, as outlined in the charging document, indicates that he conspired with another individual or individuals between January 4th, 2022 and February 16th, 2022 to bring cause to Jared's death. According to Jared's brother Adam, the extent of the conspiracy is unknown in terms of its depth and reach in one interview that he did with the Daily Mail. As of this time, we only think he was conspiring with Mario Fernandez, Shanna's husband, at the time of the murder. There have been other conspiracies that say Shannon was involved as well, but no evidence has been released in regards to prove that theory.
On February 13th, 2023, Henry Tennant pled not guilty during his second appearance in court. According to the police, the murder in question was premeditated for a minimum of 6 weeks. Tennant is currently being held without bail.
On Thursday, March 16, 2023, the authorities arrested and indicted Mario Fernandez, Shanna's now estranged husband, for what they described as a premeditated and targeted ambush and murder. He was arrested in Orlando, taken to the Orange County Jail, and indicted by a Duval County grand jury for first-degree murder, conspiracy to commit murder, solicitation to commit a capital felony, and child abuse, all related to Jared's murder. Prosecutors allege that Fernandez was integral to the solicitation, conspiracy, and murder of Jared. Another suspect in the case, which we can only guess to be Henry, led prosecutors to Fernandez, whom he solicited to commit the crime and who admittedly pulled the trigger.
State Attorney Melissa Nelson stated that the suspect who pulled the trigger had just pled guilty to his role in Jared's killing. According to Nelson, the state will announce its decision on seeking the death penalty against Fernandez Saldana within 45 days after his arraignment. Fernandez is being represented by Jacksonville-based attorney Jesse Dreiser, as confirmed by the state attorney's office.
Kirsten spoke publicly, saying, quote, "We are here today feeling many emotions. We have great relief knowing that the two of the people behind my husband's murder are now behind bars and are no longer a threat to our family. We are also still angry that they were walking free while we were grappling with the reality that Jared would not be here for any future memories, vacations, or even tender moments with our kids. I'm angry that our youngest, who was 6 months at the time of his death, will have zero memories of her father. Angry that there will be no new memories for Liam, Abby, Bexley, London, or anyone who knew and loved Jared. We have fought hard for the truth, and the world now knows what we have known all along, that Jared truly was an innocent victim. Since day one, those charged of the investigation have promised us that they would be relentless in their pursuit of accountability and justice, and they have been. We are grateful to the State Attorney's Office, Jacksonville Beach Police Department, the ATF, and any other agencies that have been involved in this investigation. Justice for Jared will not be stopped, and we will not be silenced. We know there is still a long way to go before all those responsible are truly held accountable. But today is a very significant day for our family. Thank you." End quote.
Tenen did agree to testify against his accomplices in the murder of Bridegan, according to the prosecutor. Shanna denied any wrongdoing but felt compelled to speak out and clarify her position in a June 30th interview with the Florida Times-Union, only saying, quote, "It is becoming necessary to respond. I didn't want to make it a spectacle. I want people to know where I'm coming from," end quote. She declined to discuss her divorce with Bridegan, reportedly saying, quote, "I don't see any good in airing our dirty laundry," end quote. Kirsten Bridegan expressed that she wasn't surprised to learn about the connection between Tenen and Mario. Her immediate thoughts were for Liam and Abigail and the potential implications of this connection. She described the situation as tragic and expressed concern for what they are going through.
The arrest warrant, which is heavily redacted, reveals that during a review of Tenen's financial records, 3 handwritten checks were found to be associated with Fernandez. Additionally, phone records indicate that there were 35 phone contacts between Tenen and Fernandez in February, 30 in March, and 5 to 9 in May and June.
According to Nelson, statements made by Tenen to authorities have been redacted from the warrant due to the ongoing investigation. When asked about potential further arrests, Nelson declined to comment. She also stated that the ownership of the gun and motive for Bridegan's murder cannot be disclosed at the time due to the active investigation. Nelson emphasized the commitment to uncovering the entire truth and holding all involved parties accountable for the murder of Jared Bridegan.
Before we wrap up today's episode, we have a question. Have y'all purchased your 2023 True Crime and Paranormal Podcast Festival tickets yet? Well, you better hurry up because Lainey Hobbs is breathing down our necks. Just kidding. We love you, girl. But this event will be held in Austin, Texas, August 25th through 27th. Come see us or else. And if not for us, I don't know. Come see Defense Diaries or Jen and Cam from our True Crime Podcast. There will be a ton of great people there and you do not want to miss out. It's a blast and you get to be around advocates and true crime content creators. Tickets are for sale at truecrimepodcastfestival.com and we will have stuff to give away. Be sure to use the code BEES, BEES, for a 15% discount at checkout.
Also, please don't forget that we have over 31 episodes of our other podcast, Not So Nefarious Criminals, for you to binge. Each week we have a guest and we somehow always forget that we have a guest, and you guys know the drill by now. But we do talk about the lighter side of crime, such as the Florida Man. We also talk about elephants and other crazy and irrelevant things like weird scams and the National Day That Day, which is Amanda's favorite thing. It's a great time and a great palate cleanser. You also get to hear archived content that we chose to take off the public feed because we're embarrassed by it. So, how can you listen to that? I'll tell you how. Join our Patreon. It's only $3 to start. Come on, y'all. Be like Nike and just do it.
Jared Bridegan was a bee who was senselessly killed and forced to leave behind his children. His family and friends undoubtedly are left with so much pain and heartbreak, as well as many unanswered questions. And we really want to do our part and to help them seek justice and closure. As a reminder, bees are strong, resilient, yet vulnerable. We must protect the bees at all costs. For without bees, we as humans are doomed. So be vigilant, for when you mess with the bees,
You get the hive.
Thank you for listening to A Nefarious Nightmare. Music used in the theme was originally recorded by Ghost Stories Incorporated, remixed by Ryan RCX Murphy. Additional background music is provided by Epidemic Sound. A Nefarious Nightmare is scripted, researched, and produced by Courtney Finner and Amanda Cronin. This podcast is a Cloud 10 podcast managed by Sim Sarna, Sahiba Krieger, and Jamie Rice of Murderish and Dirty Money Moves. You can help us grow our show by leaving us a 5-star written review on Apple Podcast or Spotify. Or you can join our Patreon for lighthearted bonus content. Thank you, and as always, be vigilant.